Well, this is my Nana's desk. In my family, grandmothers are Nana. And I made the conscious decision to be Nana, even in these modern times. But this is my Nana's desk that sat in front of the bay windows in her apartment in Roxbury. She would sit me at this desk, give me a pair of scissors and her junk mail, and just tell me, entertain yourself. I'm sure she didn't use those words. I would sit there and cut shapes and create little pictures. And I would be lost in that world of making, and time would disappear, and before I knew it, my mother would be knocking on the door to come pick me up. And I couldn't wait to get back to Nana's desk. Now, in the 3rd grade, I had a teacher, Miss Goldberg, and she pulled my mother aside and said, "Watch her in the arts. I think she's going to be an artist." And after that, we started coming to the Museum of Fine Arts on Saturday morning. So, if not for the words from that teacher, perhaps my mother would have never thought to bring me over here. Maybe she looked at what I was doing and said, well, that's how kids play. I don't know. Well, I grew up in Boston. Specifically, I grew up in Roxbury. Every year or two, I would travel to Arkansas to visit with my father's people. My father was from Hope, Arkansas, and he passed away when I was very young. I was 8 years old. And in high school, I got into photography. And when I would go south, I would take pictures. And my grandfather, Commodore Hendricks, he was just a gentle, sweet soul who always made me feel so welcome in the summer, though I'm sure some of the time I was a pain in the neck wanting to know about this and that and the pigs and the chickens. They had a little farm there. But when he got older, he lost his eyesight to diabetes. And on one of my trips down there, he took out a shoebox, literally a shoebox full of old photographs, and he gave them to me because he knew I liked pictures. He knew I took pictures, and he knew I would value them. And I'm telling you, $1 million would not have made me happier than that box of photographs. But the box gave me years of joy, and then also gave me a resource for art making, notably the portrait of Aunt Mary, my father's sister, and Root of Jesse. Root of Jesse is a portrait of my grandfather, but the photograph from which it emerges, I actually took as a teenager of him on the farm. The pieces that are part of those installations came over a period of time. The book stand came from one place, the shutters came from another, but then somehow in the studio, they became ingredients for a story. And I feel like this story transcends that one person's history and begins now to tell a history about the African American story in America. And I think that's important, that my story is not just mine, but it's representative of something that other people can relate to. And I think Root of Jesse, I've had so many people come up to me and say, "Are you sure that's not my Uncle Fred?" Because there's something about him that carries the spirit of Black men from the South. In Portrait of Aunt Mary's story, the Great Migration is represented in a child's set of railroad tracks and the letters that people sent back and forth home. So I think it's a new phase in a way of my work to really move directly into 3 dimensions and into storytelling that starts with an individual, but then radiates out into the community at large. But then the other thing I think I wanted to do is honor and elevate my neighborhood, because I feel like my neighborhood was full of brave, hardworking, creative, loving, visionary Black folks who were confronted with barriers and who figured out ways to work around things. so that the opportunities for their children would be a little larger. The door would be open a little wider. And I watched them do that. I was a part of them doing that for my generation. And I don't want to ever forget that. I want that story to continue to be told.